So David, how have you been? It's been a while since I've seen you.
I know.
He's come to my town in times past.
Yeah, I have some family in Philadelphia. And in fact, that's where my Sicilian relatives immigrated to, was South Philly. And my great-grandfather had a grocery store in South Philly on 9th and Jackson Street.
Sure.
That sold Italian groceries to all the immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I've been able to visit Charlie up in the area. And Charlie's unique. He's not Italian American. How did you get into bagpipes, Charlie? Can you?
The bagpipes in general?
Bagpipes in general, because that was before you got into the Zamponia.
That's right. Well, I started playing orchestral wind instruments when I was just a kid. I mean, I played saxophone, clarinet, and all the basic things you'll find in a band like that. And my family is mostly Scottish, and although I'm some French also, but we gravitated toward the Scottish side, and so I knew what the bagpipes sounded like from a very early age, and I was exposed to all kinds of bagpipes, and in my heritage growing up. But how I got into Italian bagpipes is probably the more interesting story.
Let's hear it.
Would you? Well, a friend of mine, David has mentioned that South Philadelphia is a highly Italian neighborhood. There's a large concentration of Italian population in South Philly. Has been for years. And my friend is a Highland piper named Dennis, who dresses up in a kilt and plays the Highland pipes, which I'm sure that most of the people who, when they think bagpipe, they'll think kilt and Amazing Grace and parades and all this. And Dennis retired to somewhere in Nevada, but before he went, he said, "Hey Charlie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give all my Italian friends in South Philly your number, and you got to learn this tune. It's called Tu Scende dalla Stella." I'm like, "Okay, Dennis, sure, yeah." I knew there were Italian bagpipes, right, but I never had a close association with them. Dennis moved to Nevada that summer, and lo and behold, December 1st, my phone starts ringing for, can you come to play Tu Scende dalla Stella on the
Scottish
bagpipe?
pipe?
Yeah.
They wanted you to play Tu Scende dalla Stella on the Scottish pipe.
They did indeed.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, well, you can do that.
Okay, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So the Italian Americans in South Philly were looking for someone to play on a bagpipe, Tu Scende dalla Stella.
Yes.
And they had been employing a Scottish piper to do it.
Precisely.
And so you were passed on the gig.
I was passed on the gig.
Okay.
And next thing I know, I'm standing at Christmas Eve on a freezing midnight on December 24th, surrounded by about 500 people, a live nativity. And what else was there? There was like sparkler
you wearing a kilt
and stuff. I'm in there in a kilt. I'm playing God Rest You Merry Gentlemen and Hark the Herald Angels Sing silently. And they, wait till we tell you to then play Tu Scende dalla Stella. Okay. So I played Tu Scende dalla Stella precisely at midnight. And the whole square just started to sing the tune. Right? So they loved it. And then the next thing I know, they started asking me, "Well, can't you get a Zamponia for next year? Can't you get a Zamponia for next year?" And that's when I got in touch with Lionel, who may have already...
We interviewed Lionel already, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And here I am for you.
So Lionel helped you get your first Zamponia?
Yes, he was instrumental in doing it.
So now, you still get a lot of gigs on the East Coast playing the Zamponia?
Yes.
Is there a growing consciousness of the instrument, or is it somewhat static, or what is your experience in dealing with Italian Americans in this music?
Well, my partner Susan, who plays the Ciaramella, I'll get to this instrument a little later, it goes along in pairs with the Zamponia. We got both instruments over courtesy of Lionel. And what we found was that the Italians, people who had been born or lived in Italy for a large part of life, knew exactly what this was. They knew what they wanted. It was just transferred over to the United States. But Italian Americans, first or second generation, they weren't quite keen on the idea. But we've worked really hard to change that and expose Italians and Italian Americans on the East Coast to the Zamponia and its beautiful sounds on a larger scale in those intervening years.
Cool. So you got another pipe here. This is from a different region.
Yes.
Where is this one from?
This is a Scapoli pipe from Molise in East Sarnia. Scapoli is kind of a little epicenter of bagpipe, and a lot of
You still need to go to the festival.
I have to go to the festival. I really am looking forward to the opportunity to do that. And hopefully Gianluca and I will work something out.
Okay. Well, let me know.
Okay, you can come with.
I've already been once. I don't know if I'd want to go back. It's pretty crazy, but it's worth seeing one time. So do you want to play this other one here?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. The feature that makes this pipe different from... Does Sean have a Moderna or...
No.
Okay. Well, the feature...
You're talking about the drone? Okay.
Right, the overhead.
No, you're the only one in the U.S. with that.
Okay. Well, what makes this instrument, this is a fairly modern development of the scapuli bagpipe, and we already know about, I guess, the drones and the two chanters with a separate melody for each hand, but certain makers in scapuli decided to take it a step further and add a couple extra notes on the back of the instrument. So this is the only type of zamponia that can do things like this.
So this is more of an sort of an interesting evolution of the instrument. In one region, it's as the traditional culture and context of the instrument fades away into the past, we're seeing some odd changes to the instrument. One of them being adapting the instrument to play with other modern instruments, to be able to be more flexible in the tonal range of the instrument, to be able to play with a modern ensemble of music. As the zamponia moves from sort of a shepherd instrument into a 21st century instrument, it's a change. So it's an interesting development what they've been doing there.
And it still has retained the ability to play all the traditional music. We just don't use the extra notes. We can play all the traditional repertoire as well.
You also have synthetic bags.
I have synthetic bags. I have shed the goatskin craze. Philadelphia is very humid, and goatskins have problems there.
Yeah.
You know, with the heat inside in the winter and the wet outside in the summer. This is a material called Wintex. It's a relative of Gore-Tex. Maybe not the same thing precisely, but it's an airtight fabric bag, and it's completely sanitary. No animals were harmed in the making of Wintex, for those who are interested in that. And it's a lot lighter. It doesn't smell, and I can.
This is the bagpipe of the future, ladies and gentlemen. This is the bagpiper of the future.
Well, thanks. But and there you have pretty much the entire scapuli zamponia scene.
Now, you're the only person that's come to the interviews that's brought a ciaramella, or also called a piffero. And these are often played with the zamponia in a pair. They go around and one person plays the ciaramella and sings when they're not playing the ciaramella, and the other person plays the zamponia. So, go ahead and explain this instrument. Maybe you can do a little demonstration or something.
Absolutely, love to. It's a double reed single pipe. The zamponia, as you see, has two pipes, one for each end, but all the notes are lined up in a straight line here, so we can have a larger scale. So the range of the ciaramella, I can play low notes and really high notes too. I can also do things like staccato with my tongue, dynamics, make things a little louder, a little softer, and I can change between staccato and short notes and long notes, and do all sorts of interesting vibrato effects with that. It's that's not it. It's operated by a double reed. This is the same kind of thing that oboe and bassoon players and uilleann pipe makers use.
And it's similar to the reed that plays in the pipes of the zamponia.
Yes, but this is it has to be made out of cane. You can't use synthetic materials on the ciaramella reed, because I really have to admit it just doesn't have the same potential as it does.
It even overblows.
And there you have the ciaramella.
Well, Well, thanks, Charlie. I know you're doing a lot of great stuff in the East Coast to keep this tradition going and provide a cultural service for Italian Americans in the Philadelphia and greater area. And I guess what, just kind of explain, what is it about this? You're not even Italian, but here you are, doing all this. What is it about this? Because obviously you enjoy this more than just. I mean, it started out as just learning that one song to go play in South Philly, but it's evolved for you personally. Can you explain a little bit just about that?
Well, I mean, it's completely snowballed. These instruments for a musician are just so easy to fall in love with because they do things that other bagpipes just aren't in the same league with. I mean, you can't play a counter melody and do all kinds of harmony on your usual kind of generic bagpipe. And it's a captivating sound. I really have to admit, the form of the instrument is interesting musically, and the music that is played is just captivating. I mean, it's just kind of taken a hold of a lot of my musicality.
Well, thanks a lot for sharing this with us, and glad you made it out to Fairfield for this festival.
You're very welcome, David. Looking forward to playing for you.
All right, great.